I still remember the day I left for college like it was yesterday. I was so proud, so hopeful, so excited to finally do something for myself. My name is Rachel Thompson, and after 10 years of putting my dreams on hold, I finally enrolled in a 2-year nursing program in Atlanta. I was 34, married to a man I thought loved me with his whole heart, Derek, and ready to chase the future I thought I'd lost. Derek had always been charming, the type of man who could talk his way out of a speeding ticket and into anyone's heart. I met him when I was 23. We dated for 5 years before we got married. He wasn't perfect, but he had a way of making me feel like I was the only woman in the world. He encouraged me when I talked about nursing school, telling me, "You've taken care of everybody else for so long. It's time you took care of yourself." I held on to those words like they were sacred. So, when I packed my bags and left for college, I felt a strange combination of sadness and joy. I was going to miss him, miss our little routines, our Sunday brunches, movie nights, dancing barefoot in the kitchen. But I believed with every fiber in me that he was cheering me on. We agreed I would come back every few months to visit, but school got busy. Life got hectic. There were clinicals, night classes, study groups, part-time work. I barely had time to sleep. But Derek always said he understood. He always told me, "Do your thing, baby. I'm proud of you." He sent me texts every day. Cute messages like, "Proud of you, Nurse Bae," or "Keep grinding, baby girl. We got this." He even sent selfies sometimes, smiling from our living room, sitting on the couch we picked out together, or grilling on the porch. Sometimes I'd FaceTime him and he'd be folding laundry or fixing dinner. I never doubted him. Not once. I thought we were in this together. The last semester was a blur. Finals, capstone project, night shifts at the hospital. I didn't get to visit for months, but Derek told me to keep pushing. Graduation day finally came. I wore that white cap and gown, walked across that stage, and held my diploma with tears in my eyes. I was the first in my family to graduate college. It was one of the proudest moments of my life. And I couldn't wait to see Derek. I decided to surprise him. I didn't tell him I was coming home. I wanted to walk in the door, diploma in hand, and see his face light up. I imagined us dancing in the living room, popping a bottle of cheap champagne and talking about our future. I had plans: start a job at the hospital, maybe finally start trying for a baby. I was so full of hope, so full of love. But when I got home, everything changed. I took a Greyhound back to Charlotte. It was raining when I stepped off the bus, but I didn't care. I was just happy to be home. I took a cab to our house, the little brick place on Morrow Avenue with the yellow shutters. My heart was pounding as I unlocked the door. I smiled, ready to yell, "Honey, I'm home." But when the door opened, my smile vanished. The house was empty. Not messy. Not halfway packed. Empty. Like abandoned. Like no one had lived there in months. There was no couch. No dining table. No TV. No pictures on the wall. The rugs were gone. The curtains were gone. The sound of my own footsteps echoed through the living room. At first I thought I had walked into the wrong house. I literally stepped back outside and checked the number. But it was ours. I went back in slowly, my heart thudding in my chest. I rushed upstairs. The bedroom? Bare. No bed, no mattress, no dresser. I opened the closet. Nothing. Not even one coat hanger. Our wedding photo that used to sit on the nightstand was gone. I ran to the hallway closet where we kept the safe. I yanked the door open. The safe was wide open. And that's when I started to shake. Because inside that safe I had left the last gift my grandmother ever gave me before she passed. Her wedding ring. A vintage gold band with tiny diamonds, passed down for 3 generations. Gone. I dropped to the floor. My breathing got heavy. I pulled out my phone and called Derek. No answer. I called again. Nothing. I texted, "Derek, where is everything? Please tell me this is a mistake. Please call me." I sat on the floor, crying, shaking, heart pounding. My mind was racing. Had we been robbed? Was he hurt? Was this some kind of joke? 10 minutes later my phone rang. It was him. I answered immediately, shouting, "Derek? Where are you? What's going on?" "The house is empty." There was silence on the line for a few seconds. Then he said in the coldest, calmest voice I've ever heard, "I sold the house. I'm not coming back." I sat there frozen, my phone pressed to my ear, wondering if I had heard him wrong. "What do you mean you're not coming back?" I whispered, my voice barely coming out. He sighed like he was the one exhausted. I sold the house. I needed to move on. This whole situation, it just wasn't working anymore. I blinked, stunned. You sold the house. Our house. Without even telling me. He paused. I tried to tell you, he said. But you were always too busy. School changed you, Rachel. You got real independent. Started acting like you didn't need me anymore. That was the moment something inside me cracked. I couldn't even speak at first. My hands were shaking so badly I nearly dropped the phone. So you punish me? For bettering myself. For going after the future you encouraged me to chase. His voice didn't even tremble. It wasn't about that. I felt invisible. You were gone for 2 years. I was lonely. I made a choice. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So you sold everything we owned without even saying a word? My clothes, my books, my grandmother's ring. Derek, you cleaned me out. That got a pause out of him. I didn't touch your grandma's ring, he said flatly. But I knew he was lying. I knew it. I stood up in that empty living room still holding the phone. Where are you? Asked, my voice cold now. Where are you hiding? He laughed. A low, bitter kind of laugh. Far enough that you won't find me. I didn't respond. I just ended the call and sat back down on the floor. I stared at the blank walls, the empty sockets where our lights used to be, the little holes in the wall where pictures used to hang. It felt like he hadn't just taken my stuff, he had erased my life. That night, I slept on the floor with nothing but my backpack under my head. No pillow, no blanket. Just me and the crushing silence of betrayal. I didn't eat. I didn't cry. I just laid there, eyes wide open, trying to figure out how someone I loved, someone I trusted, could do something like that. I called his family the next day. No one knew where he was. Or maybe they did and just didn't want to get involved. The utilities had been shut off. My name had been taken off everything. He had sold the house weeks before I returned, using a fake signature to finalize the deal. I went to the bank. Our joint account had been drained. There was a second checking account I hadn't touched in months. He left me $372. That was it. No note. No goodbye. No explanation. Just a hollowed-out house and a man who vanished into thin air. The utilities had been shut off. My name had been taken off everything. He had sold the house weeks before I returned, using a fake signature to finalize the deal. I went to the bank. Our joint account had been drained. There was a second checking account I hadn't touched in months. He left me $372. That was it. No note. No goodbye. No explanation. Just a hollowed-out house and a man who vanished into thin air. I crashed on a friend's couch for a while. I'd wake up in the middle of the night thinking it was a nightmare, thinking maybe I'd open my eyes and it would all go back to normal. But it didn't. I spent every day trying to piece together what happened, looking for clues, searching social media. He had deleted everything, his profiles, his pictures, his phone number. He was gone. I wanted to be angry. I wanted to scream. But more than anything I wanted answers. Not just about what he did, but why. What made him flip like that? What made him think he could just erase me and walk away? I didn't get those answers. Not then, at least. What I got was silence. Weeks turned into months. And slowly I realized I could either drown in the wreckage or start building something new. So I did. But I'll never forget the way it felt, coming back to nothing. And believing for a brief and terrible moment that maybe I was nothing too. 3 months passed. Life didn't magically get better, but I was surviving. I found a job at a trauma center. Night shifts mostly. 12 hours on my feet, running from patient to patient, barely enough time to breathe. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. I was earning an honest living, rebuilding one day at a time. My apartment was small, a 1-bedroom with thin walls and a broken heater, but it was safe. It was quiet. It was mine. I started getting used to the silence. No more wondering if Derek was okay. No more checking his old pages or refreshing search results. He was gone. Somewhere out there, living his so-called fresh start, and I was slowly learning to stop caring. Or at least trying to. But life has a funny way of spinning the wheel when you least expect it. It was a Thursday night. We were slammed at the hospital. 3 car accidents, a couple of stabbings, and one older man who had fallen off a ladder and shattered his hip. I was halfway through my shift, trying to stay awake with a cold cup of vending machine coffee, when they wheeled in another one. Male. Early 40s. Alcohol poisoning. Barely conscious. No ID. The paramedics said they found him behind a liquor store, passed out near a dumpster. Typical case. We saw it all the time. I put on my gloves, pulled back the sheet and started checking for vitals. And then I saw his face. Derek. At first I thought I was hallucinating. I blinked. Looked again. It was him. His hair was longer, his face rough, sunken, thinner than I remembered. He looked nothing like the man I married. Nothing like the man who used to make me pancakes on Sundays and call me his queen. He smelled like old sweat, cheap whiskey and failure. I stepped back, my heart racing. My first instinct was to walk away. Just turn around and let someone else handle it. But something in me stayed. I stared at him for a long time, then leaned in close and whispered, "Guess I found you after all." He didn't move. He was too far gone. So I did my job. I stabilized him. Got fluids running. Helped pump his stomach. I didn't say anything else. Didn't tell the doctors or nurses who he was. I didn't need to. I didn't owe him that. He woke up a few hours later. Groggy, blinking under the fluorescent lights. When his eyes focused and landed on me, I saw it. The recognition. The guilt. The fear. "Rachel?" he croaked, his voice cracked and weak. I didn't flinch. I folded my arms and looked him dead in the eye. "Hello, Derek." He sat up slowly. Tried to fix his shirt as if that could somehow hide what he'd become. "I didn't think I'd ever see you again," he said. I shrugged. "I wasn't looking." He looked down, ashamed. "Things didn't work out. The woman I left with, she took everything. Cleaned me out. I lost the money, the car, even the apartment. I've been living on the street the past few weeks." I didn't say anything. He kept going like he needed to explain. "I made a mistake, Rachel. The biggest mistake of my life. I thought I wanted freedom. I thought I was missing out on something. I was wrong. You were everything. You were home." That word stung. Home. Because he was the one who kicked me out of it. "I just need a second chance," he said. "Please." I stared at him. Not with hate. Not even with sadness. With clarity. "No," I said softly. "You don't get a second chance. You don't get to burn the house down and then show up at the ashes asking for warmth." He started to cry. Real tears. Ugly ones. But I didn't reach for a tissue. I didn't move closer. I just stood there, still in my scrubs, exhausted from a 12-hour shift, and for the first time in a long time, I felt powerful. Because I wasn't that woman on the floor anymore. I wasn't the wife begging for an answer. I wasn't the heartbroken girl calling her husband over and over asking why. I was someone new. I turned around, walked out of the room and handed his case off to another nurse. I didn't check on him again. When my shift ended, I walked out of that hospital into the cold night air and breathed. I had survived. I had won. Not by getting revenge. Not by watching him suffer. But by getting back up one brutal day at a time. By building something without him. By becoming someone he could never touch again. Today I still work night shifts. I still live in that tiny apartment. But I smile more. I laugh louder. I trust myself. And most importantly, I know who I am now. And if you're watching this and someone ever tries to take everything from you, your peace, your power, your name, remember this. You can still rise. You can still rebuild. And your story doesn't end with their betrayal. It starts there. If you felt that, if this story hit home for you in any way, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I've got more real, raw stories just like this coming. And trust me, you don't want to miss the next one.